Hi everyone. It's been a rough week with my internet, so I wasn't able to get a video out last week. But it did give me plenty of time to work on some other things, especially my note-taking. And so I wanted to cover a few of those things and what I find extremely helpful when I'm taking notes for either business and action items or for trying to understand large amounts of study material. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is how I take notes. If I am in a meeting, I am notorious for having a little notebook with me, mainly because they're cheap, I cannot distract people, and they don't need to be recharged at all. So I still prefer the good old-fashioned pen and paper notebook. In it, you'll see kind of the facts I jot down that I think are important at the meeting. Now, if it's really important and I need to think about it later, I put an exclamation mark next to it in the margin, like you see here. If it is an item that I or my team needs to get done relatively soon or in the future, I put a square next to it so that later on I can check that off completely. I do put subtasks underneath it as well. And so that's nice because it forces you to go back and say, did I do this? And if you did, to have that feedback. Then I also have kind of the question mark. And if it's not brought up when there is a natural gap in the meeting, I don't have to interrupt them, and then I can ask something, and I also don't forget about it. So you add this together, and what does it look like? You might have some facts, which have nothing next to it, no notation. You might, hey, I need to do this type thing, and maybe some more facts, kind of some questions and things like that. And it's important to me to try to keep meeting notes to one page, mainly because it forces you to put down the most important things. Anything longer than that either means your meetings are running way too long, or not all that stuff is important. So that's what I use for quick little meeting notes. For much larger meetings, or if I'm trying to understand a 40-page technical document, or a business case, or the NIST standard, I try to use mind maps because I find those extremely helpful. So let's walk through what that is. So if you start in the middle of a mind map, usually label what it is and draw a little picture to remind you what exactly is going on here. And then you start drawing off little threads of the different themes that you'll be talking about or were discussed or have been put into play. So with this, we have like an idea. And what we want to make sure is that every single one of these threads only has about one word on it. If it's more than one word, you should start branching it out and put in other words or other facts or other things along those lines. And why do we want to make and use a mind map? One, it's really fast to put it down initially because you don't have as much to write about, and you don't have to write long, convoluted sentences. And you can go back and see it real quick. The other nice thing is it's short. You can easily move something from like 40-page, get that all the way down to one page, and I think that's extremely helpful nowadays because I don't have time to read through 6 pages of notes, but I do have a minute to look at a mind map to remind me exactly what happened. The other nice thing is it's threading, so you can go back through a thread. So if you see, hey, there's 25 widgets, where did that come from? Why are we even talking about widgets? You're able to thread that kind of needle back through everything. And then it helps you with the context of a lot of those things. Now, there are some really good critiques of mind maps. So one, they're kind of hard to share if there's a lot of what you get out is the context of you doing it yourself. So it's harder to share a note to a colleague of what you saw than with some of the other traditional note-taking methods. And then the other critique I have heard is that I have so many notes in my meetings, a one page, even with a mind map, is not going to cover it. I would ask that you go back and think about, do you really need to be taking that many notes? And does your meeting need to have that much context in it? I would argue the meetings need to be changed around, or the importance of those things need to be altered a little bit. The other part that I do with my mind maps is in the top, I usually do the similar note-taking method as before. If I have a question that I want to ask, I write it down and see if it's answered. When it gets answered, 9 times out of 10, I add it to the mind map. So you can see how I do that. And then if I have action items, same thing. If there is important facts, I usually don't have as much because those are usually included in the mind map. So that's how I use mind maps to help me through some really technical things and making sure I get my thoughts down in a very quick and concise manner to kind of keep up the pace. So those are some techniques I use for my note taking to make sure I'm not wasting my time in meetings or during study, and that my information is ready to be actioned. And hopefully, it'll also help you understand and develop your note-taking style so you can move your important action items forward as well. The other fun things happening this week, snakes are going to be done but with production, I believe by the time this video is done editing. So as soon as I receive those, I can get those out to all the people who supported us on Kickstarter, and also a package out to cPanel for helping sponsor us. The other fun part is Diet Intel, my Alexa skill, and the blog posts have reached 120 posts, which has been kind of fun. So if you don't know, every workday there's at least 2 little bits and pieces of information that you can learn about, hey, what's happening in the cyber world that is relevant, I feel, to everyone here.